Yes. Still in LA? Kunopadom, do you remember Cindy? You met Cindy in Taiwan.
I'm not sure, but I'm familiar with that face. Okay. Good morning, Cindy.
We can't hear you, Cindy.
Good morning, Jonathan, Sarah.
Morning,
Nice to
Cindy.
see you
That's
again.
better.
Hi, Cindy. Nice to see you.
Morning, Cindy. Morning, everybody.
So if Pali terms come up, I'll try to put them in the notes section, Cindy. So if you keep an eye on that.
Great.
I'll try
Thank
to-
you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Are you here, Ajahn?
สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
Yes.
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
สวัสดีครับท่านอาจารย์สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์สวัสดีครับสวัสดีครับ
Morning to Dao.
ฮัลโหลฮัลโหล
Yes, Cindy is not so familiar with the Pali terms, Ajahn, so I'll try and kind of put any notes up, but we can also try to mention what we're talking, what they are, because it's quite difficult for newcomers.
Okay, from now we'll speak English and some Pali. All right.
Is there any topic you're interested to hear more about, Cindy? Because if it's your topic, it's good, because then we will speak in English more when it's your topic. Anything you would like to discuss more? Anything that came up last time or anything you've been thinking about?
About now or not now?
Not now, later. Thank you.
Yeah, Cindy mentioned to me she's very interested to study and understand more about the Dharma, but I think it's quite deep and quite difficult for those who are new to it. Have you got anything you'd like to bring up to Dao?
I'd like to know the function of Vatapa.
So we have to understand what Ottappa is.
Yeah,
So what is it? A reality.
it should be.
Yes, but it's the moment of seeing the danger of akusla.
Yes,
Follows the function of Ottappa, because so many realities are there right now, unknown.
yes,
Example, Vitaka, Vichara, so on in Pali, they're
Yeah.
all there, but we don't know any of them at all. Just learn to understand what are they
Mm.
one by one. So at moment of kusala, wholesome moment, usually in a day, can there be wholesome moment of what is seen right now, or what is heard right now, or about the story of events? But right now, at moment of thinking about understanding the truth of what is there now, it is because of Ottappa, seeing the danger of not understanding the truth. It doesn't show up as I am now, seeing the danger of what is there appearing, not known, but it's a moment they are there by conditions. And not only Ottappa, there must be other reality in Pali term, like Hiri and so on. But they do not appear at all. That's why we learn to understand this very moment, to understand little by little, to know that what is it is that we don't have to think whether it's there Ottappa right now or not. But what is there now? See, if it's not known, we just heard the word Ottappa or Hiri of many words, but what are they and where are they? Are they right now? It's not just try to find out by words, but to understand the truth of the reality, what is real now to be known in the beginning. Otherwise, Hiri and Ottappa and other words, other realities are there in mind about the characteristic, the function, but they do not show up to be understood that actually what is there is that reality which cannot be other thing at all. For example, seeing right now is real and it's not hearing. We don't have to think about Hiri and Ottappa because the nature of that which just arises to experience the object at different moments is not known yet. That's why I learn to understand that there are many, many unknown realities just right now, but they can be known little by little, one by one. So we heard the word Ottappa, and in truth, it's the reality which sees the danger of akusla or ignorance, not understand that which is now appearing. So how can there be any understanding of anything at all? We think that we learn a lot, we understand a lot, but not understand the truth of that which is now to be known as when there is the idea, I know a lot, is there I, and what is known, and so on. That's why each word just has its own characteristic, but it's not known because no word about it to be considered, the truth about it, whether it's there or not. For example, seeing right now is there. See, and we think about other things. And what about seeing? Is it true? What condition it's arising? Who can make it arise? Does it belong to anyone? Or it just arises to see? That's all. So life is moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. Not more than that. But seeing different things, one moment at a time, one reality at a time. Whether what is seen is red or blue, it's not the same moment at all. Or whether it's light or dark, we don't have to use any word. But the truth is that is it life just in a moment, only at moment of seeing? No one there at all, no thing at all. Seeing is there, now sees. That is so true in life. And at the moment, hearing is not seeing, it's there, experiencing, or hear sound, which is the object, only that which is there to be heard, only that. And then gone from moment to moment in life, what can be taken for permanent, or I, or anyone, or thing. And that can be studied to understand the truth, the nature of it, as no one there at all. So what about I was born and I'll die? No one. Moment of birth, what are there? Moment of death, what are there? Where is the I? So no one can escape from death. It will be one day, at any moment, any time, by conditions. So where's the I? Or the events, the whole events now, or life's events, not there anymore. They are completely gone. And not just at moment of death, even right now. What is there is not there anymore. So that is Ottappa, seeing the danger of not understanding the truth of what is there now. Otherwise, we just think about Ottappa to see the danger of ignorance and attachment, which condition unsatisfactoriness from moment to moment, unknowing, unknown at all. That's why just learn to understand the truth of each word about what is there now, because it's there, it can be known. So that the truth of it is there as it arises, it is conditioned to arise and see right now. Only that and then gone. Seeing cannot think, seeing cannot hear, seeing cannot like anything. It just sees, that's all. And this is life. So in order to understand life or the truth of what is there in life, it has to be from moment to moment, at a moment and a moment at a time, at moment of seeing. If there is thinking about hearing or other thing, it's not seeing. So how can the truth of seeing appear as it's not there permanently, just temporarily, so short? And this is Otapa. See, no one there at all. And when it's not the object of understanding because it doesn't show up, it's just only thinking about what are there at moment of hearing and understanding the truth of what is there. It doesn't hurt at all. But the truth is there to be known little by little, to understand life, the truth of this moment and any moment, little by little. To understand what is the really true, what is the truth of life, what is the truth of a moment, what is the truth in a moment or at a moment. At moment of being kind because of Ottappa is there, but it doesn't show up as it is moment of seeing the danger of unkindness. So there are many degrees of everything, of even seeing the danger of life, that it's not permanent right now, unknown as it is. But as it's so true, it can be directly experienced, enlighten the truth. So just hearing, considering about it, whether can that be known because it's there, but it does not be always there, just for a moment and then gone. So what is the truth of life, of each moment? If there's no Ottappa, not seeing the danger of ignorance, there cannot be moment of seeing the value of understanding the truth of it. Quite different from moment of not understanding the truth of what is there. From birth on and on and on until death, and on and on and on. As nobody can stop this moment of seeing and thinking, hearing, how can there be moment of stop life after death or a moment after moment of death?
And just to elaborate on one point, for those who are not so familiar with what is being said, Ajahn mentioned about how Ottappa sees the danger of ignorance and attachment now, and it's the ignorance and attachment which conditions the unsatisfactoriness of life. People, like one friend on the Saturday discussion, they think of the unsatisfactoriness as when one's in pain or when there's unpleasant feeling or when there is difficulty. They think of this as being the unsatisfactoriness of life, but that is just one aspect of the unsatisfactoriness of life, when there is unpleasant feeling of one kind or other. But the deeper meaning, as contained in the first noble truth as taught by the Buddha, is that whatever is conditioned to arise is unsatisfactory because it falls away instantly. So even the seeing now is unsatisfactory. The hearing now is unsatisfactory because it's gone instantly but it's the object of clinging. And even moments of kindness or understanding are unsatisfactory in the deepest sense, because they fall away instantly. No one can make them last. No one can make them stay. So whatever arises in life is unsatisfactory, whatever is conditioned to arise, because it's gone instantly. So it is the characteristics of the Hiri and Ottappa, seeing the danger of ignorance and attachment, means understanding the value, seeing the value in understanding and developing wholesomeness, but especially the understanding, because only the understanding can lead to the end of unsatisfactoriness in life. So they're important qualities, Hiri and Ottappa, that have to develop with understanding and other wholesome states. But it's very, for most people, it's very difficult to understand in the beginning, or even not in the beginning, how whatever arises now is unsatisfactory. Even the pleasant feeling is unsatisfactory because it doesn't last at all. So even the pleasant feeling is dangerous because it's the object of clinging. Any more points to raise to Tao on this topic? Or anyone else?
Not on this topic, but I have a question on bodhisattva. How many kinds of bodhisattva are postulated in the Theravada Buddhism?
And you said that it's only just one kind.
I know one kind, that is Buddha. Before his enlightenment, he had to accumulate so much merits, wisdom, etc., to attain enlightenment. So he had been bodhisattva for a long, long time. But is it the only kind which is postulated in the Theravada Buddhism?
Okay.
What is the meaning of bodhi and sattva?
Being or beings who are destined to become either Arahat or Pacceka Buddha or Samma Sambuddha.
So what's the meaning of Samma Sambuddha?
Samma Sambuddha,
Yeah,
which doesn't,
Sambuddha.
who doesn't appear so often.
Is Buddha Panya a right understanding or enlightened truth?
Yes,
Buddha.
yes,
And Samma Sambuddha, who enlightened the truth by himself,
yes,
which is very difficult. And Sattva is the being or anyone interested to understand the truth, to let go all kinds of unwholesomeness, ignorance, attachment, and other kinds of unwholesomeness. See, does anyone would like to let go attachment to the whatever appears now and understand the truth? And if there is the interest in seeing the benefit of understanding the truth, that person is not those who do not understand what is there, no interest in understanding the truth at all. That's why there are so many kinds of sattva, or what we call being. So at moment of understanding the truth, that can be directly experienced the truth as what is there now, arising and falling away, passing away, never to arise again, and so on. That being is interested in the understanding the truth. So that is the satta who is interested to understand the truth, and not just to be interested, but more than that, deeper than that, just be so truthful to the truth, to understand the truth. Is a person different from the other? And that's the meaning of satta and poti. Satta, just seek or look for or would like to let go ignorance and dukkha as not just that which is so painful or unpleasant, but the moment of arising and falling away non-stop. Is it good? No one there at all. It's like the wind or the sun just shine and blow non-stop. What's the use of just being experiencing all the moment from moment to moment, not just in life, but when there are conditions for that to arise, it has to arise and falls away, never to return. It should be object of clinging, taking it for I, because before birth, where's I, and after death, where's I? Only the different moment of conditioned reality. Anyone who are interested to understand the truth, to let go ignorance, is bodhisattva, depending on what level, to be Samma Sambuddho, the enlightened one by himself, or as Pacceka Buddho, even enlightened by oneself, but not as Panya, as Bodhi, as Samma Sambuddho. Many degrees of satta, we can say that. And anyone right now are interested to understand the truth, to let go ignorance, is Savaka Bodhisattva. So there are three kinds, Samma Sambodhisattva, and Pacceka Bodhisattva, and Savaka Bodhisattva.
Oh, it's good to know. Okay.
So are you now Savaka Bodhisattva? See? To be truthful, to understand the truth for what? Not for I, but to understand the truth, to let go of ignorance and wrong understanding, which takes whatever experiences as I. Well, it's not there anymore. Seeing just a moment ago all gone, hearing just a moment ago, never to arise again, and so on. On and on and on and on, arising and falling away non-stop, as long as there are conditions for that to arise, it has to arise. And wholesome medicine is conditioned to arise as well. Whatever arises depends on its proper conditions just to arise, to be only that, such that, that's all. And gone, never to return. And who is interested to understand the truth, to experience directly, to enlighten the truth of this moment, is Savaka Bodhisattva, as long as the person cannot be Pacceka Bodhisattva and no interest to be Samma Sambuddha. Just Savaka Bodhisattva is quite very, very difficult. But it depends on who would like to be Samma Sambuddho. So the truth is the truth. It does not belong to the sect, whether it is Theravada or Mahayana and so on. The truth is the truth. But when there's no understanding clearly of the reality and has one's own thought about this and that, not the path leading to understand the truth. There are so many sects, many ideas. Differently, even Mahayana, so many sects. And even Theravada, they have different understanding depending on how much understanding, careful considering about the truth.
And I think it's important because people just think of the Bodhisattva, the one who may become the Sammasambuddha or the Pacheka Buddha. But the Savaka Bodhisattva is the third kind of Bodhisattva that we read about in the text. So, as Ajahn just said, anyone who is interested in understanding the truth, like now, it is Savaka Bodhisattva. Savaka means follower of the Buddha, follower of the truth.
Just a quick point there. Saraka also means a listener, someone who considers carefully. The other point that you may be touching on, Tadao, there is that there are all Sammasambuddhas are different. Of course, the last Buddha was a what's called a Panya Buddha. There also are Wirya Buddhas, Saddha Buddhas. Of course, they all must be proficient in all those qualities, no doubt. The other one I'm not sure of, and I can look it up later on for you, but the last Buddha in the Theravadan tradition was a Panya Buddha. The other ones may be classified as Saddha Buddhas or Wirya Buddhas. I'm not too sure. There's one other one I'm not recalling at the moment, Tadao, and I'll look it up sometime. It's not an important point in some respects, as I'm sure you realize, because as Ajahn has alluded to, all those points she made were the important ones, and that it's, as she would always remind us, is their understanding at this moment. Are we being Sāvaka Buddhas? Are we considering carefully what the true Dhamma is about?
So, as Sāvaka Bodhisattva, yeah, do we have to develop 10 paramis, or do we have to have some kind of determination to develop these 10 paramis?
I'm not quite understanding your question, but I know that from what I understand, that the Panya Buddha doesn't take as long to perfect the parami. It doesn't take as long as the Wirya Buddha or the Saddha Buddha. I'm not too sure what the other one is. So yeah, I just understand that all Sammasambuddhas are different. They're not, and of course that makes absolute sense. They've all got different accumulations, but they all have a common denominator in full enlightenment, as attaining full enlightenment. So they take, and the strength of those parami for a Sammasambuddha is much, much greater, like than for a Sāvaka Buddha or a Pacheka Buddha. Sammasambuddha, the perfection of the paramis is very, very, very strong. And that is why, in the case, say, for example, of the Yamaka Patihariya, the twin miracle, only the Sammasambuddhas can perform the Yamaka Patihariya. That is because their level of wisdom is so even way, way, way beyond perhaps the most well-known we may know of is Mahamoggallana. He could not perform the Yamaka Patihariya. That's because his wisdom and his proficiency in the psychic powers was not as great as a Sammasambuddha.
I do not understand the meaning of perfection of paramis. In what sense parami have to be perfected?
I think Tanajan would be best to answer that. I have some ideas, but let Tanajan Cup, please, would you answer that question? I would appreciate hearing your perspective on it.
About what? One by one, please.
in what sense parami should be perfected?
Okay. Are people different?
Yes.
Some are wise and some is not wise, as that one but has so much effort than the other, and the other might have sattva stronger than the others. That's why even for Samma Sambuddho, when the one who has determination to become Samma Sambuddho with right understanding more than just the saddha or virya effort, it doesn't take as long as the person who developed understanding to become Samma Sambuddho. It takes more time because of not as panya as those who can develop in shorter time, like Samma Sambuddho of this one that Samana called them the Buddha right now. It takes for, I don't know, in English so long, and we can understand it longer than the other Samma Sambuddho, who has to be so much more than the panya developed in order to become Samma Sambuddho. So there are different lanes to become enlightened because of the different levels of panya and sattva and virya. I think Kun Sarah can help to talk about this point.
And just on the other point, before that you asked about Tadao, about the Savaka Bodhisattva, the followers, and you asked about the development of the paramis, because this is more relevant to daily life. And we know that understanding has to be the leader, the foremost quality. So without panya, none of the other paramis can develop. So there may be great determination and great effort, but without understanding, it cannot be the parami, the perfection that is developed and has to develop on and on, supporting the understanding to become enlightened. And the really important point is, no matter we're talking about the Sammasam Buddha to be, or the Savaka Bodhisattva, no one that can decide, no one that can determine, no one that can have understanding, because each reality, each understanding, each determination, each virya is conditioned, not arising by anyone's will.
Yeah.
Does that answer that first question you raised?
It's not totally clear for me. One point is not totally clear for me. That is, we are always taught that develop ksara, but here it says that we have to develop these 10 paramis. Why wholesome these are defined in terms of 10 paramis?
And no matter whether we read in the teachings about develop wholesomeness or develop the paramis or develop understanding, the point is it's not anyone that develops anything. So it has to be the understanding from the wise consideration and reflection, like now, the understanding of dhammas like Hiri and Ottappa that we were talking about, that leads to the development of understanding. And when understanding develops, supported by the different paramis, like saddha and virya and so on, then all goodness is developed together.
Okay. And Virya and Kantiya, they are just one Chetasikaya, but why Virya and Kantiya listed as separate paramis?
I think it's referring to different aspects of virya and also different strengths. Like we've discussed before, virya rises. Virya is usually translated as effort or energy, arises with every chitta apart from most of the ahetuka, rootless chittas. So there's virya now after seeing and hearing at almost every moment. Whenever there is thinking, there is virya. But there has to be the wholesome effort, the wholesome courage to develop the path. And it takes a lot of patience and very strong patience. So when it's strong patience, kanti is referred to. So it's not just the courage and the effort, but also the strong patience that has to develop together with the panya and the virya and the determination and other factors, the truthfulness and so on.
Okay. And as for Sawaka Bodhisattva, yeah, sort of their goals are attaining arahatship. Can we say that? Or are there some, or there could be some Sawaka Bodhisattva who'd like to become Sammasambuddha in the future?
No, the Savaka Bodhisattva refers to those that are the followers or listeners of the truth enough to understand the truth on and on to eventually become arahats, to become fully enlightened, not to become Sammasambuddha, taking aeons and aeons and uncalculable periods of time.
Okay, okay.
But I think that rather than thinking about becoming an arahat or becoming a Sammasambuddha, what about understanding now? Because when there is the understanding of the truth now, seeing the value in and importance in understanding and seeing the danger of akusala now, then it is Savaka Bodhisattva, those moments of understanding for those moments only. When one is lost in attachment and wrong understanding and ignorance as usual, can it be said that it is Savaka Bodhisattva at those moments? So whatever we're talking about is for a moment, for now.
So as long as one is practicing Dhamma, he or she is Sawaka Bodhisattva.
And what does it mean to be practicing Dhamma?
Means that developing sati and panya without any notion of self.
Right, without any notion of self, doing something special or following a practice or going to a special place or waiting for a particular time. It has to be now. The understanding has to be at this moment, because that's all there is in life. No other moment. Not anyone who can understand.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to ask Ajahn about Sammasambuddha. As far as I remember, she said once that in our past, there were countless Sammasambuddha. Is it true? Or the number of Sammasambuddha which appeared in the past is limited or quite limited?
What do you mean, limited?
Mean that like a 24 or 7 or 24?
24 what?
Sammasambuddha.
Just talk about time. whether we talk about long time or shorter time.
A long time.
When we talk about just 1,000 years,
Yes.
longer than 100 years, and so on.
Yes. Yes.
Tana Jankup, may I say something here?
Please.
You may be thinking of Tadawa. There are different kappas and periods of time. These are immense periods of time, unbelievably long periods of time. Now, in this kappa, there are 5 Sammasambuddhas. That's very, very rare. And I understand that is the most Sammasambuddhas that can appear in a kappa. The next one in this kappa is Mattaya Buddha. Of course, the last one was Gautama and Kassapa and so on. The other 2 I can't remember at the moment. So, and then there is a periods of time when no Buddhas appear for unbelievable periods of time. These how that happens, why it happens, of course, well, we cannot know. No doubt Sammasambuddha would be able to talk to this, probably. But there are immense periods of time when there is no Buddhas, and they do not appear for many, 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 many kappas. So that might be helpful there. And sometimes, as I said, there might be only 1 or 2, sometimes only 3, but this kappa is very rare because there are 5 that appear, and that is the most, I understand, that can appear in any kappa. Next one, Mattaya, well, when is it? We don't know, but it's within this kappa.
And do we live as long as that to understand all these?
Mic up.
So that's why we learn to understand, to know how difficult it is for anyone to be even Savaka or Pacceka Buddha or even Sammasambuddha. And even Sammasambuddha depends on the accumulation, whether with Panya or with Satta or with Viriya. See, that's all. Everything is different by conditions, that's all. And as much as one knows that there can be Sammasambuddha as long as there are persons who like to develop right understanding to that degree. But what about you? Would you like to be Savaka or Sammasambuddha or Pacceka Buddha? No choice, all depends on conditions. That's to have more belief in conditions. No matter what stage of different kinds of Savaka or Sammasambuddha, to be as Satriputa, as Moggallana, or as Ananda, or just ordinary, not as much of wisdom or the foremost in what kind of aspect. So the point is that not just think about those who have enlightened already. What about now? Can there be the development of right understanding to realize the truth stage by stage? As Buddha said, like now, what is there is conditioned to arise and then falls away instantly. And that can be experienced only by nimitta, see, that degree of panya, which understands the details and the very fine aspects of everything. But for us, even right now, remember that what is Dhamma, which we are studying, is about that which is now appearing, to understand it little by little, to let go the idea of things or people or whatever is there, little by little, because no matter how much we understand the conditions for seeing, it has to have the eye base and that which impinges on it and so on, and vitakka and cetasikas and mental factors and so on. But it doesn't appear, but we learn to understand little by little, to have more confidence, which is parami, adidana parami, Otherwise, it cannot support or condition higher or more fine understanding, more subtle understanding of what is there as its truth. So true that Buddha had enlightened by his enlightenment. Each word comes from his enlightenment about what is there now, not permanent at all, and how fast it is, so rapidly arising and falling away. That's why only one reality, just single one, cannot be the object of understanding by way of processes. He just pointed out everything to be known that in life there are only moments of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, all about that which has been experienced through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. That's all. And gone is moment. Is that more confidence of whatever is now appearing as it is, not permanent at all. And if there is no understanding of just one reality, how can there be the understanding that they cannot be permanent at all? Because from moment of seeing to moment of hearing, many moments are in between, unknown. That's why before there can be the understanding of the most valuable in life, is now which can be known. That's why we think a lot about many, many things. But what about this seeing, hearing, touching, and thinking? It's so close, so near. Just not leave or turn it away or turn from it now, away from it. It's there to be known. Otherwise, it's not known. Touching and then seeing, see? It's there to be known as not self. If there's no understanding of the truth of what is there now, why do we think about enlightenment, the Samma Sambuddha and Savaka and so on, not understanding what condition those people to become Savaka or Samma Sambuddha or Pacceka Buddha? It's only thinking in words, and then after this life, not in this language, all are forgotten. What about the truth? Unknown, because we just remember the word, but not understanding little by little the characteristic of that which shows up now as it sees, it hears, no one at all. And can that just thinking be parami? Depending on understanding the value, the benefit of hearing about different words, about seeing right now, that it is conditioned by Dhamma, is vipaka, no one can condition its arising and so on, and what condition it arise together as mental factor and so on. Just develop the understanding of letting go secretly, and that is the subtlety of the path, the last Ariya Satya, the fourth Ariya Satya, the way leading to let go ignorance and the idea of self on the first stage. And it can be right now the development of understanding of that which is now appearing. Otherwise, it's not the path to realize the truth, to enlighten the moment when it's there and then gone. The truth is there to be known, but it depends on understanding that it has to be more understanding of the truth of that which is now appearing. It's not known years and years, 100 years, years ago. And how can there be just a moment of understanding as no one there at all, only that which experiences as the experiencing only? That's why it takes quite a long time to develop truthfully Satya Parami, Viriya Parami, and Khanti Parami. For the question of Viriya and Khanti, we talk about Sati, even the Bodhi, Dhamma, the factors of enlightenment. Why there must be Satindriya and then Satipala, and on to Sammasati of the Eightfold Path at moment of enlightenment. Even it's one reality, but it has different stages, like Viriya and Khanti. Anyone can now develop hearing, understanding the truth of what is there now. But when there is obstacle, or when one is sick so painful, can there be a moment of understanding reality right then? And even right now, when there is attachment, even it's so very little, not much at all. But what about understanding? Can it understand the truth of that which is there, attached to that object as something, see? That's why the truth is all around, one at a time, from moment to moment. We understand that conventionally, intellectually, but the truth is that if it doesn't appear as just one reality, can there be a moment of experience that it arises and the moment before it doesn't arise, and what arises falls away? By nimitta only. But it's so clear, even it's nimitta of just one reality. But now so many realities. Just close one's eyes, just close one's eye, close it. Which is there at moment of open up one's eye? It's not there anymore. How come? In a moment, just open one's eyes. That is the rapidity of the sustain of what is there now. As it's not known as not self, it's only that which experiences. As soon it has fallen away, it conditions the next one instantly, non-stop. That's why everything is so close together to appear as something with shape and form and so on right now. That's why studying Dhamma is not the word, but to understand the Dhamma which is there now. Nothing is as close as Nama and Rupa right now, here.
Yes, and I think to Tao, one can read about all the past Buddhas, like in texts like the Buddha Vamsa and the Charya-Pitaka, or about the Buddhas to come. But the point is not to just remember and learn about the names and the details, but whilst reading, what about reflecting on the qualities like the great Hiri and Ottappa that had to be developed with the understanding, the great Viriya and Khanti and the other paramis that had to be developed. And it's a reminder of now, is there Hiri and Ottappa now? Is there Viriya and patience to understand the truth? So I think that whatever we read, no matter whether it's all the stories of the past Buddhas or the Jatakas, it's not just for collecting details, but for understanding at this moment, as Ajahn just stressed, and for appreciating the qualities to be developed now. So as she reminded, it's not just enough to have some understanding like now when conditions are suitable and we're discussing Dhamma with friends. But what about when sick in hospital? What about when we're on our own without any friends to discuss Dhamma with? What about when there are all sorts of hardships, or when there are all sorts of attachments, like when eating delicious food? What about the Viriya and Khanti and the Hiri and Ottappa and all the other qualities at those moments? So when I read about different Buddhas, I forget the details because I'm not really very interested in them. But the point is the understanding of the qualities to be developed in life right now.
Yeah. Constantine often said that we have to develop satipatthana, yeah? And she often said that it's satipatthana. It's not vidyapatthana or kantipatthana. It's satipatthana. But here my question is, why is it satipatthana? Why not panyapatthana? Why is it not called panyapatthana?
I think Sundara asked exactly the same question last time, as I recall. And we discussed how right now, if there is no sati, can there be any panya at all? So without sati, no wholesomeness can develop, no panya can develop. Sati has to perform its function of guarding and being aware in order for understanding to arise and understand the reality at this very moment. So they have to develop together. So sati plays a very important role, has its own function to be aware, to be mindful of kusala, to be aware of the reality being experienced. So no panya without sati.
And if I may guess, I think when we talk about satipatthana, we're talking about direct understanding. And we know that although there is sati, even in intellectual understanding, there is sati, but the object is a concept at that time. So the distinction made, and there's panya, the distinction made here is probably, I'm not sure, to show the realities. The four satipatthanas are all realities, that which sati directly is mindful of. Unlike when it's pariyati, the sati has a concept as object.
Right. It has to be directly, sati has to be directly aware of the reality as condition, as an important condition for panya to understand it. Without that sati being aware of that reality, panya couldn't arise.
Okay, thank you.
It's on that that point, Tadao, how I understand that is that sati is the foundation. You know, we talk about the patthanas, satipatthanas. So sati is the foundation for which enables panya to grow. If you didn't have those foundations in place, panya couldn't grow.
And I think another aspect was we were discussing also about if sati is not an indriya, if it's not a leading factor, then it cannot be satipatthana. So it has to be an indriya, a governing or leading condition for it to be of the strength to be satipatthana.
morning, everyone. I'd like to clarify that in the paramis, like we have the virya, which is a parami, and kanti, which is a parami. So kanti is actually virya. But in this situation, or can we say that virya has two functions? One, it arises with every chitta, and two, that it becomes a parami, but it also within that it has that other function of being classed as kanti or patience. So would that be right to say that it kind of has two functions?
I think just now when someone asked about the virya and kanti, Ajahn was stressing the fact that there are different levels, different layers. So the patience, or the, like now when there's listening to the Dhamma and everything is quite relaxed and easy, there is virya because there is patience to listen, patience to understand. But what about the patience when circumstances are difficult and it takes greater patience, greater courage, greater virya? So this is kanti, when it's stronger, when it takes great patience, like when sick in hospital, or when there's so much delicious food in front of one. What about the understanding at those times?
Now, I guess what Azita's question is when there is Kanti Barami, does that also imply that there's Virya Barami at that time?
I think they develop together, and I think there are some different aspects and different moments too. So sometimes, like even now, there's just a little bit of patience to understand, and sometimes great patience. So different moments.
And
So is the virya now?
There must be a Chan, Virya.
It's like kanti now.
Different moments, cannot say a Chan.
When kanti is not there, it's not kanti, right? But when kanti is there, it's kanti. As there is sati, and is it satindriya? And when it is satindriya, is it satipala? But it is sati. Different levels, different degrees. Can there be enlightenment only with just satindriya only?
So
It's not.
you're saying that it is actually Kanti Barami is actually Virya Barami, but under different.
Talk about daily life, we can understand the different levels of virya, right? Even just stretch your hand, who knows that it is virya, because it's not as kanti, which can be known. When you try so hard against the obstacles, is that only virya as stretching out your hand? Or it is kanti, it needs that level of virya. So in order to let go the idea of self, it is enough just to be satindriya, arising with panya, to be aware of an object, but no, not enough understanding at all, until no matter what, in any moment, in any situation, it can arise. That is pala, not just satindriya, see? And virya as well, it is samma vayama, and it is viryansi, and it is virya bala. It's not just the word that we try to understand it, to check it, but the moment when it's there, it's not just at level of begin to be aware with a little understanding of that which is now is the object of direct awareness, not enough. So only move your hands. Can that be moment to become enlightened? Oh, how hard it is, how difficult it is to let go, even attachment, no matter it is so little, so subtle, or it's so strong. And the parami has to be as strong as to that level too. Just think in terms of the idea of self, just to want to understand it. But the nature of it as no self and no one at all should be clear, should be clearly understood in order to let go the idea of self. And at moment of having food so delicious, see, is there any moment of letting go ignorance of that which is not anything at all? So it's not the word. There are 52 Cetasikas. And can it be just only the level of that as usual? On when it becomes stronger, it's not the same as when it's so very little. So the matter is not just try to find out at moment of Ajaitasika as whether it is Vriya or whether it is Kanti. It's the same, but it does not at the same moment at all. It is not at the same level. For example, sati right now, can it be satipatthana without any understanding at all? And even when it is the understanding of satipatthana, there must be sati, but it's not at level of satipatthana. That's why there is another word, not just sati, but satipatthana, satindriya, and satiphala, and sammasati, or satipodchanka, and so on. At this moment, trying to understand the difference, like trying to understand sati at moment of hearing, considering, understanding, and try to understand the level of sati, which is satindriya, satipatthana. Is it possible? But when it's there, right understanding, understand instantly, it is satipatthana. How and why? See, it is not only sati, ordinary one, as hearing right now, of giving dana and so on, but it's moment of directly beginning to understand that this is the object. Unexpectedly, Panya is there with direct understanding of that object as it's no one and no thing. But is it clear? Can it let go the idea of self instantly? That is not I at all. That is not understanding the higher level of the of the parami. That's why what is heard now cannot be directly known until it's there, as it is. If sati is not strong enough, even the vipassana jnana, many degrees, and as it's not as so clever and very natural as understanding whatever is there in life unexpectedly, no matter what at all, because now it hasn't happened yet. But when it's there, where is that understanding, the sati, depending on conditions? If it's not developed enough, impossible to understand that.
So, Achan, is this an example when we like what I was doing earlier? trying to figure out the difference between and wondering whether the sati, the virya is virya barami, and when it is virya barami, and when it is khanti, knowing that it's referring to the same Chetasika, and having all these this kind of doubts and wondering which is which and trying to work it out. Is this an example of what the texts say, that when you study the Abhidhamma wrongly, it leads to madness?
Depending on how much you think about it, there can be the understanding that it cannot be known. For example, sati phala, sati samphochong, or sati patthana, for anyone who just go to the meditation center. Can they understand sati patthana? Is there any understanding of the path, of the word? All dhammas are anatta, all sankhara are not permanent, anicca. It has to be right now, because life only exists in just this very moment, one moment, from moment to moment. Life keeps on going.
And
An object.
So Acharya, in effect, you're reminding us that it's always now is like saving us from going mad. Thinking about
The right. Because, yes, please.
I was going to say, and when one's trying to find the fine line, like, is it exactly virya now, or is it khanti, or is it indriya, or is it bala, or what exactly? This is just curiosity and attachment. It's not the understanding at all of the quality of patience now, or the quality of the reality at this moment. So I think sometimes one has to be content to just know, okay, when it's strong enough, when it really takes very strong patience, whether we're talking about wholesome or unwholesome patience. Okay, it's different from when it's just a little patience, a little effort. But when there's the looking for exactly when and exactly at what time, it's just leading away from the path, leading away from understanding what appears now.
And so Ken, I was thinking that we're already mad, because the Buddha, Samma Sambuddha said, Sabbe Patujjana Ummattika, which means literally, as you've probably heard many times before, all worldlings, Patujjana, are mad, Ummattika. So it's a matter of, well, I guess it's a distinction between the different levels of madness that can arise, and we forget that by way of those the hallucinations or the vipallasa, we're continually seeing what is not true. We are forgetting that the reality that appears, and in those moments there is a kind of madness or a foolishness at least. Ummattika, actually, it's very similar to the English word mad anyway. It literally means extremely foolish, extremely stupid. When we continually take the reality which appears for something. So we can see there are many different levels of madness.
Yeah, but what I was particularly pointing out too is that we hear a lot and we appreciate the part when we're reminded that there's no self, and I was thinking about in the text they talk about, if you read this Vinaya wrongly, then it leads to doing wrong through body and speech, and if you read the suttas wrongly, then it leads to the idea of self. And if you read the Abhidhamma wrongly, it leads to madness. So I was thinking that, well, we're here thinking that the Abhidhamma helps to stray us away from the reading wrongly and away from the idea of self, we are getting into the trap of going mad, studying the Abhidhamma wrongly.
And the strong virya, no matter whether we call it kanti or not, can be understood even at those times of when there's the strong wish and effort and determination to work out the details or to work out exactly which Buddha was this kind and that kind and so on. Even at those moments, even while thinking like that, then the strong virya can be known, different from just ordinary times. So it's still back to now.
And there is also the term kanti yana in Pali. Is that right, Kun Sundra?
I do not recall it, Tanajan. I recall Kanti Bala, which is obviously the power of Kanti. So I can imagine that is relating to Kanti Jnana in some level anyway. So, but I've not come across Kanti Jnana, but I imagine that is related to Kanti Bala.
Several kinds of Kanti Jnana. Jnana means understanding. Sindhi, several kinds of Kanti Jnana which develop with the Vipassana Jnanas. So the Kanti has to be stronger and stronger and firmer, different Kanti Jnanas at different stages.
So is there any doubt about Kanti now? Even Kantis are so many different levels. That's why just learn to understand the term, which is not just a term. It represents the moment of such jnana. And how come to be kanti jnana? See, it's not just arise without any understanding of this very moment at all.
Yeah, I always appreciate Tanajan when you remind us that the word is not the reality, and I find that very helpful.
Because there is virya right now, but it is not even just virindriya, see, not indriya yet, no panya there at all. How can it be virya as indriya? So great, not just ordinary stretching one's hand and so on. So just talk about what we say now. It's a teaching of the Buddha or about the reality. And when it's there, it has its own characteristic as a reality. To understand a reality. Otherwise, that is me, or that is I, or that is mine.
At the end of the Saturday discussion before the last one, Alberto, you brought up at the very end a topic that we said we would discuss more. You mentioned about how there must be understanding of seeing to understand what follows, and otherwise it's taken for my seeing. And Ajahn straight away said, what about, isn't this selection? What about understanding as anatta? Was there anything further to discuss on this point or topic?
Because one is so used to the word, the way or the path, the fourth noble truth. But how subtle it is to know what is really the way or the path leading to understand what is there now. See, when we are engrossed with the idea of this word, how come and how many stages and so on, is that the path, or is it the way leading away from the path? So the path is so very subtle. It has to be enrooted very firmly that what is there now? Buddha thought about it to condition the understanding, to develop more understanding of the truth, but so very little at a time, because just hearing the term, the word, it experiences or it sees, and now it sees, but the truth of that which experience it doesn't show up, because usually there is the idea of I instantly because of no understanding of what is there. That's why patience is there, virya is there, unknowingly, that without hearing again and again and again, it conditioned the moment of developing the understanding, the truth of what is that. Only that which is there can be the way, the path leading to understand the truth of it. So when we talk about other things, is that the way to understand what is there, or to take the interest away from understanding what is there now to other things, on and on and on, unknowing all the time. That's why even the path has to be studied carefully to understand that when there is the talk or whatever is there about thinking about it and so on, it is the moment of conditioned already by hearing, considering, to begin again and again to think about it closer and closer to understand the truth of it. No one there at all. See, before there can be kantiyana with jnana so clear, but what about even it's not clear, but the conditioned moment of not forgetting about the truth is there now, at moment of touching, at moment of seeing, at moment of thinking, and so on. Any moment, unexpectedly too. So natural, so true, to be truthful to the truth. And sati is at moment of not forgetting about that which is now appearing, no matter what now is. And when sati is there, panya is a truthful. How much little of understanding. In the beginning, it doesn't appear well at all. It's just be aware. But without understanding, how can the moment of direct awareness is there? Even the panya is so very, very little. It does not appear. The sati appears. But without panya, which condition the moment of directly aware of that object, how come to be such? And this is the beginning of the second level of panya, not just intellectual understanding, but it's moment of directly understanding that this is the object. It's real. Right now, depending on conditions, anytime, no one. Until it's so keen at any moment, it appears better, little by little, clearer, little by little. But we cannot use the word clear yet as long as it's of Vipassana Jnana. It's not as clear as we think.
I think it's a good point about when one is engrossed in the word or the term, then actually it's taking one away from the path. And I think this is what Sukin was referring to. It's the wrong study of Dhamma or Abhidhamma, because one thinks it is understanding, but actually it's just one's attachment taking one away. But do you have any further comments, Alberto, following your discussion, which was cut short before?
Yeah, I was just thinking about what Ajahn was saying about the understanding the present moment, and when there is no understanding of the present moment, there still can be the intellectual understanding, the confidence that there will be the understanding that we are on the right track towards that kind of direct understanding by conditions only, not by trying to, not by intention, but by viriya, which is different reality than intention. Even sometimes it has to be kusala viriya, and so very subtle. I'm not sure. Yeah, not no need to try to catch anything, because it's already gone.
And no idea or thought of what should be understood first, because that is the self again, not the natural development of understanding. Like if one says seeing has to be understood before hearing, or seeing before kusala or akusala, or the self is there trying to set rules, not understanding just what appears right now. But it's very subtle, as you said.
And it's not what needs to be understood, but now. It's just now, whatever it is. I think that's the thing. As you understand, we know that it's not the question of which reality, but it's the question of if it's now. If it's not now, then it's just thinking.
And I was just thinking, consequent about your question about Abhidhamma. As Tanajan is always reminding us that Abhidhamma really refers to the present reality, ultimately. So we can easily get, go down the wrong track and study Abhidhamma, in terms of, what we see in the books, and forget that it does represent a reality. It's so easy to go astray in that respect.
Sukin, you were saying, and I've heard it a lot, we talk about now. Now is the only moment to know. However, as soon as you say now, that's gone. So that understanding has to be so precise to really understand. But I suppose it's like knowing that there is only now, and it's only now that can be known. It's sort of a beginning.
Yeah, but it's not the word now. That now is defined by what appears. So if there's hearing, its hearing is the now. If there's visible object is the now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I guess I was placing too much emphasis on the word now and not the reality that is represented by now.
Presently appearing reality, but we say now for short, or the present moment.
Right, yes. Yeah.
One doesn't have to overthink it. Actually, the nimitta, the characteristic of what the reality that appears now. But
however,
when there's understanding, there's no thinking about, well, actually the reality has fallen away and actually it's only the nimitta now. It's just that characteristic which appears now.
Mm. But even that overthinking is another reality, is it not?
Right.
But when sati and panya perform their functions, they know what is now, so they don't have to think about what is now. Now, when there's awareness, or again, because it's not that awareness or understanding will catch or will be aware of the reality that we catch for them. So they just perform their function and are aware of something that is arising at the present moment. But we understand that that will be a presently arising object. And in terms of just considering what that means, we think of what might be arising, appearing at the present moment, because there is seeing now. There must be seeing now, because there is the idea of people and things appearing to the eyes. So that can only happen if there are some moments of seeing first going on at the present moment.
So Azita, so you cannot somehow make understanding arise just by reminding now. It has to. It becomes now when the understanding is developed enough.
Yes, I understand that. However, I do find reminding myself just out of the blue, just saying, well, it's just what is. But then I'm on to something else. And I know that's just a lot of thinking. And maybe it's wishful thinking, but it's a moment that arises without being prompted. It might, I might be in the middle of doing something and there's like a moment of, well, now is all there is, but then it's gone again. It's a thought that arises and gone. And I guess it's a thought that arises because what has been heard. Because before listening to Buddha's teachings, that thought would probably not occur, that it's just now. Or maybe it would, I don't know. That all depends on conditions, I guess. And I think what I've been thinking about this morning, early before the discussion, was often I hear Ajahn say one word at a time. And I think today's discussion has been a really good example of that, how, the talk that's happened today. And we have gone into just what does Satipatthana mean? What does Virya mean? So I'm really appreciative of that.
And I think, Azita, too, that for different people, different words can be a cue, to lead onwards for that moment anyway. And then, as you alluded to, and I think it refers to all of us to a lesser or greater degree, then we're on with more attachment or whatever reality may be appearing or not appearing. And, I think of Tanajana always refers to Sariputta when he heard those famous words, Intl.Dhamma, etc. That was the cue for him at that particular time. So different words for different people, but as Jonathan pointed out, or seemed to be pointing out to me, that now for some people can be misunderstanding, but the word now for other people may be very helpful. So it's going to depend on our accumulations and, of course, our levels of appreciation and understanding of the Dhamma that will make the difference.
But I think Azita was right in the beginning when she mentioned about now, and then actually now is already gone. So often when we're reminding us about now, it's not just it doesn't necessarily work. It has to be Panya, because it's only Panya that can understand now.
Yes, thank you, Sundra. That was helpful. Also, like Sikin, there might be a bird call, and it's instantly known as a bird call, unless it's an unrecognizable bird. But I live in an area where there's lots of noisy birds, and I can tell it immediately. I hear the sound, what bird it is, and I thought that the Panya must be so sharp, pinprick, to know that it's sound before the thinking comes in and says it's a bird, a certain bird, or whatever the sound is. So I think knowing that what's heard or what's seen is instantly something, that then there's knowing that there is not the Panya that knows that it's just a visible object or just a sound, not a tree or a bird or whatever.
I want
The moment of studying Dhamma, right?
Again, Ajahn, didn't catch that.
And this is the moment of studying Dhamma, isn't it?
I would think so, Ajahn, yes. To a degree.
Even when we use the term now and now and now, what is there to be studied? See, just to be reminded that the Dhamma is here to be studied now. At that level, which will lead to other level too, of not forgetting on and on a little more, so that it can be aware of little by little at a time. It takes quite a long time, but it's just the word which condition the moment of not forgetting now, studying now, studying that which is now, to understand the truth of that which is now.
And Ajahn, is this also what you had in mind when you were reminding us about the subtleness of the path?
Yes. Otherwise, we think that the path is this, Cetasika, and that, and that. But what about now? Just to remember the term, the number of the fact of the path, and so on. Oh, it's now. Even that is so very, very useful, because it becomes used to understand now. Begin to think about it, not forget it. A little more, a little more. It takes quite a long time, even to be used to the term now. That is now to be known.
even those like friends of ours who we swim with, they can talk about now and now. So it depends on the understanding that's been accumulated, the realities that have been discussed and reflected on as to what is understood when we hear now and now. Someone might hear now and now and they think, oh, it just means being in the moment when one's swimming, being one with the waves and the ocean, for example. So this is not what is meant by now. It means what is the reality appearing now. But if one's never heard about the different realities, never considered what life really is at this moment, it cannot be understood in a useful way at all. Just a conventional idea about, well, the past has gone and the future hasn't come and there's only life at this moment. Anyone can say that, but without any understanding of what the truth of the realities are at this moment, no understanding of what is now at all.
And I was listening this morning to a recording from 2004, and I think it might have been in India, but Achan said something about here and now. And I think you said, Sarah, something odd, kind of, it's more important to think of the now, not the here. But Achan insisted, no, it's now and it's here. So I thought that was, I don't know if you remember that, but I thought that was important also, because it's now, well, now is here, isn't it? But
it
the
is
emphasis that she
right
placed,
here, not any,
yeah, right,
not anywhere
else. Exactly. No. Yeah.
Actually, that was the word that came to mind when you first brought this up about now, and I wanted to make that distinction, but I wasn't sure if that the word here itself could be misleading, but that was what came in my mind. Here means now, means here. Yeah.
So at first we just think of a conventional idea of here in this place, not another place, but here and now means right at this moment, no other time, no other place at this very moment.
And we use the word now, not to forget Dhamma, see. Otherwise, we use the word Dhamma. But what Dhamma is there now?
So, Chan, again, we say a lot of time that there's only Dhamma, everything is Dhamma, any moment there's only Dhamma, but here's the test, whether that understanding is now really that it is Dhamma.
Because we are used to the term Dhamma, we think that we understand Dhamma. But what about Dhamma here and now? Not to be forgotten, how much understanding of that which is here now. Before it can be well established, not to forget the reality right now. It takes quite a long time. Everything takes quite a long, long time, according to the accumulation of ignorance and attachment to other things as something. Even right now. That's right. If what is now is not known as it is, it's just a word. And this is the path, the fourth noble truth. How subtle it is, so natural. It has to be enrooted very firmly before it develops little by little of now, the reality which appears. What is it? As we have learned, the experiencing, the seeing right now, if we don't use the term seeing, What about that which is experienced, that which sees? It's there, no word.
Roti, do you have any comments or points or anything you'd like to bring up today?
Oh, thank you, Sarah. But there's nothing I can think of. Thank you.
I have another question, and it's about Sanya. On my walk this morning, I was thinking about this seeing just sees, but you know, we know as soon as we see something, we know, especially if it's common ground, as in where you live and you walk there. And so walking along, and I recognized everything. And I thought, why, what is that? Then, of course, it's Sanya. Sanya's seen it before, again and again. But I guess when one is very, very small, like a very small child, you have to teach them what things are. I know this is a big story, but Sanya, I can see why Sanya is a kanda to it on its own, because it really drives our thinking in a way, because we are forever remembering things, remembering what they are, which goes into, I don't know, make us think that, you know, the tree, instantly a tree appears, or like I mentioned before, a bird. So Sanya's right there amongst the others. We've been talking about Wirya and Kanti, but Sanya also is so important. I know it's not a parami, but it certainly makes life what it is, I guess, and makes us think that, you know, because we remember me, and so that me is firmly stuck because of Sanya, I guess. It's not really a question. It's just some thought that has come to me this morning.
And it's now and now and now at every moment, even now, marking and remembering what's seen, what's heard, what's thought about, what was thought about this morning, what was thought about in the woods, thinking about the birds. So at every moment in life is Sanya, marking what is experienced, remembering it to think about immediately or later or next lifetime or any time.
As you say, Zita, the me, and the me is with attachment. So the Sanya attached to the remembrance of the me, and then that's a condition for more attachment. You see something you like, and it's not just gone. You remember and you think about it with attachment or aversion or anything. It's just there. The Sanya is, as you say, it's life.
And Zita too. Yeah, you've just reminded me that Sanya is a very compelling Dhamma. It's as you mentioned, that's why it's mentioned, gets a separate mention amongst the kanda, because it is so compelling, and it's perhaps a reminder to us that we're very, very seduced by the past and how we misunderstand it continually.
But it's also, Sanya, that that remembers the words of the Dhamma. So, you know, there's a good side of sanya also, should I say?
Well,
because we hear and sanya remembers what was heard.
yeah, but you know that it arises with all chittas. So if it's akusala thinking, then it's akusala, right? If
Yes.
there's the words of the Dhamma, if understood wrongly, then it's wrong sanya.
Well, I was thinking of the right sanya and the right understanding, not the wrong. But yeah, a good point, Sukin, yeah. And we can't control any of that.
And as Tanajan would say, is there right sanya now?
Oh, just sanya. No matter it's right or wrong, it's not known as it is yet because it doesn't show up. At moment of understanding, is a sanya with understanding of
Yes.
that which is understood.
Yes, Achan, there is sanya marking what was understood.
At moment of speaking, is the sanya.
Yes, Achan.
At moment of seeing, is the sanya.
Yes, Achan. With every jitta, there's sanya.
Sanya all day, but it doesn't show up because the object is there. As at moment of having attention to shape and form and what is there as something. That is also sanya.
Also sanya, you say, but it isn't the sanya that shows up. It's the shape and form of, for example, what is seen, isn't it? That is more obvious.
Yeah, it doesn't show up at all, but it's there as I remember, I know the way, I know how to do, see, or a sanya, each moment. At moment of thinking, our sanya, can it think? Think of what, see, with our sanya. So sanya is there all day in one's life, from eons and eons ago with each moment.
I think there wouldn't be shape and form if there was no sanya marking every object in every chitta.
Or even the moment when it just sees the reality, a reality, sanya marks already. Whenever chitta is there, sanya is there.
Sukin, why do you say there at the moment of seeing, if there was no sanya, there would not be shape and form? There would be, wouldn't there?
No, I'm saying that there wouldn't be any experience of shape and form if there was no sanya to mark visible object, to mark every instance of experience. The idea of shape and form comes from having marked visible object, for example.
Okay, I misunderstood then.
No
I thought,
thinking of shape and form, no idea of shape and form at all.
right.
Right.
I thought
No
you said
idea
there
of
would be.
anything.
Okay. I thought Sukin said there would be no shape and form, but forget about.
Yeah,
there would be still shape and there's still color and shape and form, no?
Would there be an idea of shape and form if there was no seeing marking visible and sanya marking visible object?
What I'm thinking of, it aside from any experience of an object, is there not shape and form in an object?
You're talking about
Rupert.
Rupa's
Yeah,
right
yeah, yeah.
falling away, and everything that rises and falls away must have nimitta, right? Yeah, but I was referring to the idea, the thinking that there is Rupa, there is something. That is only when there's experience.
Okay.
I think that might be a good topic to continue with next time. The nimitta, the shape and form of the reality, even when there's no thinking about it.
Yeah, I think it has been covered once before, but the thing moved on. But aside from any experience of rupas, there's still rupas out there that aren't being experienced, that must have shape and form, with colors but they're not being experienced, and it's not here and now. So next time, perhaps, yes.
Yeah, in case you don't know, Sarah and everyone else, so the Saturday discussions have been moved to Sunday. This discussion, this particular Saturday, have been moved to this coming Sunday, same time.
Yes, I put a note at the start of the lesson, the start of the discussion, but for anyone who came late, there will be a discussion on Sunday.
At the same
not
time.
Saturday, same time, not Saturday, as we mentioned on Saturday, but there will be a discussion on Sunday at the same time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So we'll see everyone on Sunday or next Monday.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. I think.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Ajahn.
Thank you very much.